Every night started off the same. I would hear a door slam shut at the apartment next door. The woman would then start bickering, and the man would keep quiet until a certain point when he would start to defend himself. But it always ends the same way, with the woman getting the upper hand, and the man seemingly defeated. Was my life really so boring to the point that I used my neighbor's drama as entertainment? It seemed so, but their noise really penetrated through the thin walls of the apartment, so I couldn't help it. One particular night, however, I felt even worse for the mystery man than usual. The woman seemed more irked than usual and decided to pin all her anger on him, causing another intense round of verbal abuse. "What do you mean you've still not found a job, Slater? God, how much more useless can you be?" she ranted. "I'm trying here, B," pleaded the man named Slater. "Well, try harder. It's getting embarrassing to tell my parents that I'm the only one providing for you, when it should be the other way around," she shouted. He sighed. "Do you think it's easy for me? I never meant for this to happen. Ever since the factory closed, I've not found other opportunities. Cut me some slack." "Slack? I've given you so much slack to last you a lifetime. Maybe I've been way too kind. Maybe that's why you have the audacity to spend your day bumming away," she screamed. "Look at these dishes. The apartment is so dirty. What have you been doing all day?" "I told you, I've been looking for jobs. I was gonna clean up before you got home, but I missed the bus from the last company I went to this afternoon," the guy said, as though begging for the woman for some understanding. "Excuses! No wonder your parents cut you off too. When I get back from dinner, this whole place better be cleaned," the woman threatened before I heard the door shut. I felt extremely bad for the man, especially since I heard him moving around the apartment just moments before, as though he was cooking for his girlfriend. And now, she just left. I finally mustered up the courage to do something that I've been meaning to do. I packed up half of the pizza I bought for dinner and knocked on his door. I could not have been prepared for what was waiting for me behind the door. Slater was a gorgeous man, with a nice build. His blue eyes were piercing and gave you a gaze that would make you weak in the knees. He also had very chiseled cheekbones and a straight nose that belonged in the front cover of a magazine. I was in awe, and I didn't expect that the guy next door would be so stunning. I tried to play it cool, but I was evidently nervous in his presence already. "Hey, I'm from the unit next door, 0210. Just wanted to drop by and give you guys some food," I said meekly. I wanted to subtly let him know that I was there for him, but didn't want to give the illusion that I was an eavesdropper, although I low-key was. He smiled weakly at me, but firmly took the food from my hands. Our hands brushed in the process, and it made him look up and lock his gaze at me. "You've been hearing us, haven't you?" he asked. "Thank you. I'm Slater." I shook his hand. "Kevin," I introduced myself. "Well, honestly, it's kind of hard not to hear her. She always seems to be looking for something to argue about." He nodded his head in understanding. "That's B. She means well." "Are you sure? I'm here if you need anyone to talk to," I offered. "Why don't you come in and let's share this pizza?" he asked kindly. It's been a while since anyone joined me for dinner. From that night onwards, Slater and I became good friends. We mostly saw each other in the mornings, just after Bia left for work, and at nights when she would be so pissed that she would leave their apartment. Slater and I barely talk about her though. It was the elephant in the room that we couldn't get past. But I found that since I couldn't comfort him with my words, because he didn't like talking about Bia that much, I could do it with my cooking. Throughout the past weeks of knowing Slater, I found out that he was a foodie, just like me. He loved cooking, and it was his love language. But it was something that Bia had never really appreciated throughout the years. So whenever I could, I shared my meal with him, and he did the same. "This is lovely. How'd you make this?" He complimented the birria tacos we were sharing for lunch. I winked. Good chefs never divulge their deepest secrets, I joked, but proceeded to tell him the process of making them anyway. "Your significant other must be really lucky. They scored a good cook," he remarked. This caused me to blush all over, and I looked down at my plate, afraid that meeting his gaze would make me even redder than a tomato. "Too bad I still don't have that significant other," I whispered. Slater's eyes widened in disbelief. "Are you for real? The world doesn't know what they're missing out on. Your cooking is quite something. It's special, just like you," he said softly. I looked into his eyes, and then immediately wished I hadn't, because since I got to know him, I still couldn't comprehend how such a gentle, kind, and loving man could endure the boisterous and ever-demoralizing nature of someone like Bia. He deserved to be appreciated, and although we were only friends, I wanted to show him that he was worth more than just being like Bia's punching bag. We fell into a routine very quickly. It helped that we shared the same interest. Slater was also into art, although unlike me, whose profession actually involved making it, he was more of a casual art lover. He appreciated my art like no other, and it warmed my heart to see that he was interested enough to let me talk about my craft. I've never felt that comfortable with anyone. One time, I was telling him about a painting of my dream house that I'd been working on in my studio earlier that week. I was carried away by the prospect of this art that I didn't realize that I've been babbling on and on. When I realized how long I'd been talking with no response from Slater, I swiftly turned to him, only to see him staring at me. His eyes were glistening with joy, and he flashed me the most genuine smile I've ever seen from him. "I'm so sorry I rambled," I said hurriedly, embarrassed that I had bothered him with so much crap that he probably didn't care about. "Don't say sorry, silly," he told me. "I love when you share your interest. You have that spark in your eye, you know?" I nodded, feeling validated that he accepted me for all my quirks. "This house of yours seems so cozy and perfect to live in," he added. "I wish I felt warmth like that." The atmosphere suddenly turned somber, and I instantly felt bad for him again, knowing what awaited him behind his apartment's doors. We barely went inside his apartment, knowing full well that Bea could walk in at any time. Slater said he was protecting me from her wrath, and being a non-confrontational person, I wholeheartedly accepted this. It was for the better, anyway, although he and I were only friends. Home isn't just a place to live in, you know. It can be a person, too. I shared my thoughts as my gaze wandered. "Yeah, I know," he responded. But this time, when I looked at him, he was staring right at me. Could he possibly feel the spark I've been feeling too? One dreary night, it was eerily quiet on the apartment floor, save for the light pitter-patter of the drops of rain. I wasn't accustomed to this because usually by this time, Bea would be screaming her head off about something wrong that Slater did. But this night, there was silence. I made some stew and wanted to give some to Slater, so I knocked on his door. It took a while for him to answer, and I had to knock a couple of times. When he finally opened the door, he was shivering, and I caught a whiff of his apartment unit's very cold air. "Wow, aren't you cold in there?" I questioned. "Oh, thank God it's you," he said, heaving a sigh of relief. "I can't deal with Bea, not tonight when it's storming out." "I brought you some stew. It'll hopefully warm your belly tonight," I offered. "Come in, please," Slater pleaded. I complied and realized just how freezing it was inside his apartment unit. "You don't turn on your heater?" I questioned. Slater shook his head, avoiding my gaze. "Was too scared to get up and turn it on. Only your voice got me rising from my bed," he explained. My eyes widened in disbelief. "You're afraid of storms?" "And thunder and lightning," Slater added. "Glad I have another human to comfort me now." He climbed back onto his sofa, which was piled with pillows and a blanket. As soon as he heard another round of thunder, he was shivering ever so slightly, and I don't know what got into me, but I climbed into the soft with him and wrapped my strong arms around him. His shivering instantly subsided, and he stared at me in awe. "What?" I asked. "That felt good. I stopped shivering," he explained. "I've always had a fear of storms, especially because of thunder. But now?" I held him even tighter, and his face was so close to mine that I could hear his staccato breathing and feel the warmth of his breath against my face. It took everything in me not to pull his face close to mine. As soon as another round of thunder hit, he started trembling again, and I just stroked his hair while holding him close. "Don't be afraid," I said. "I'm here now." From that night onwards, whenever there was an ongoing storm, my first instinct would be to knock next door. I would always bring Slater soup or a comforting dish because I knew how big of a foodie he was. I tried to assure myself that he was merely a cuddle buddy and that this was nothing more. But the thing was, I loved being there for him. I relished the cold nights of cuddling with him and giving him comfort where Bea could not. "Thank you, Kevin," said Slater one night as I held him close, "for always being there for me without even asking." "I'm here for you, Slater, always," I replied before I placed a soft kiss on his forehead. At that moment, the door swung open and Bea appeared, catching us in a very compromising position. "What the hell is happening? Why are you in bed with another man, Slater?" she shouted. "And you, get the hell up!" Slater immediately came to my defense, shielding me from the now irate Bea. He stood between the two of us, as if to protect me physically from his crazy girlfriend. "Kev lives next door, and he was just here to give us some soup. But then, the rain," Slater tried to reason. Bea laughed sarcastically. "Oh, soup? Maybe he thought a spoon could help you eat that soup, but instead he ended up spooning you?" Bea retorted. I shook my head vigorously. "Look, I don't mean any harm, Bea," I said. She pointed a sharp finger at me. Don't talk to me, you filthy animal. Who gave you a right to talk to me, gay piece of crap? She replied, before turning to Slater. And you! No wonder you've been fired from your factory job and you've been bumming your days away. You're out here frolicking with our next door neighbor. A gay one, may I add. You disgust me, she spat. No wonder your parents disowned you. They could probably sense you were gay. That's enough, I said, stepping in front of Slater this time around, and shielding him in front of Bia. You're done here, woman. This man is nothing but the picture-perfect definition of kind, genuine, and everything good in this world, and time again, you let him down. You always find a way to bring him down, and I've seen enough. He deserves better. Bia snickered, unfazed by my speech. This woman clearly does not value her boyfriend. Oh, he deserves better, and you somehow think that better is you? You two are delusional. He's the one who's lucky to have a woman providing for him, a woman who accepted him despite his incompetence, a woman like me. He's ungrateful. I've done everything for him, and this is how he pays me back? Now both of you will know my wrath. Bia, please, just leave peacefully, Slater requested. I think more than anything, he was relieved that she was finally leaving. No, she protested. You made a fool out of me for being with someone else, let alone another man, in our bed. Friends are more than friends. Both of you have humiliated me, and for that, I'll do everything in my power to destroy you. We're not done here. With that, she swiftly piled her clothes in a big suitcase and left in a jiffy. As soon as the door closed, Slater bawled and buried his face in his hands. I'm so sorry, I said as I patted his back lovingly, and in comforting circles. No, Kev, don't apologize. You're perfect, okay? I've never seen anyone stand up for me the way that you have. Thank you, he said sincerely, holding my hands and looking straight into my eyes. Instinctively, my eyes wandered to his lips. I was just contemplating whether I should finally make a move, when he suddenly swept me off my feet with that mind-blowing kiss. It was everything that I could have imagined. Magical, enchanting, and beautiful. Slater and I became inseparable. We spent our time in each other's apartments. We would cook the day away, read side by side, eat, kiss, laugh, and just enjoy the presence of one another. I couldn't be more grateful that I found someone like him who seemed to understand me more than I understood myself. One afternoon, we were peacefully reading our books side by side in Slater's apartment, snacking on some fruit and matcha that Kevin had made when a loud knock interrupted our ambiance. I opened the door and was greeted by the sight of Bia and our landlord, Freddie. See? Slater's been cheating on me in broad daylight with this neighbor of ours. This is absurd, Freddie. Please do something, cried Bia. What? Is this true, Kevin? Where's Slater? Freddie asked. I shook my head vigorously and attempted to explain my friendship with Slater. I swear, Freddie, you know me. I'm a very friendly person, and Slater and I didn't develop a relationship until they broke up. Slater added, Freddie, you know about the complaints Bia and I were getting. You know how toxic and verbally abusive our relationship has been. It was about time I moved on from her, but I swear I wasn't cheating on her. I'm talking to you not as a tenant, but as your friend. Bia was clearly outraged by our claims. Freddie seemed to be convinced by both of our testimonies, and she seemed humiliated. No! Freddie, don't allow this. Your apartment complex is a reputable one, but don't let this gay, cheating couple destroy it. You'll allow this, huh? 2 neighbors? Both male, frolicking about? Won't this cause some sort of alarm in the building? Bia implored. Freddie looked aghast, in disbelief about the blatant homophobia that Bia was displaying. Are you hearing yourself, woman? It's 2023, and you're what, stuck in the 70s? What? Don't tell me you're siding with these 2 gay men. They're a disease in society and must be eradicated at once, explained Bia. Freddie shook his head swiftly and distanced himself from Bia, positioning himself in front of Slater and I. It was like he was protecting us from Bia this time around, which warmed my heart. No, you're the disease in society. Being homophobic isn't accepted in my building, hun. When you asked for my help, I didn't think you'd be the problem, Freddie replied. I can't believe you're siding with them. As the landlord, do something, shouted Bia. No, hun, I won't, because to you, I may just be a landlord. But to my only son, who turned out gay, I'm his father, and as a proud father of a gay man, I feel obliged to protect these 2 from your constant harassment. Let them be happy. And you, stay far away from this apartment and never return, advised Freddie. I'm all about being there for my tenants, but not like this. Not when you're propagating hate and discriminating. I don't stand for it. Bia was glaring daggers at Freddie at this point. You all disgust me. How dare you, Freddie? I'm not done with all of you, she said before stomping out. I'm sorry about that, Freddie apologized profusely. I'll make sure she gets banned from the premises. Go on and be happy, you two. He pulled us both in for a hug, and that was the most fatherly love and acceptance I've ever felt in my life. It was another rainy night. Slater was cuddled up in my bed, and I had made him some scorching chamomile tea before the storm even began to calm his nerves. As always, I was stroking his hair lovingly, while placing occasional kisses on the top of his head. I love you, you know that? What would I do without you? I can't believe all my anxiety stopped when you came into my life, he said. I kissed the tip of his nose this time around. And I love you, I replied. Your anxieties disappeared because of your effort to work on them, and not because of me. Take credit too, love. With that, he laid his head on my chest as I continued to snuggle him throughout the long storm. Occasionally, he would jump and I would feel his heart rate starting to rise, but as soon as I gave him a cautious pat or kiss on the side of his face, his breathing would revert to normal. Slater was just casually scrolling through my Facebook feed when something exasperating caught his eye. It was a post from Bia claiming that Slater had abandoned her for another man. Slater started reading the long post to me, and it was filled with fabricated stories and evident lies. As expected, Bia exposed my and Slater's relationship, and she even somehow got a hold of some of our pictures together. She's gone insane, commented Slater. How are people receiving it? I questioned, and Slater opened the comments section, only to find a majority of the audience criticizing Bia and coming to Slater's rescue. The Slater we know would never do that, but this? Tarnishing the name of a man you claimed you loved for so long? Classic Bia behavior, Slater read one of the comments. Another comment called her a freeloading, dirty liar. They said that Bia's always been against gays, and it shows, I added. Her family! They've discredited her completely, even going as far as creating a thread to expose her lies. Her family has always liked me, and I guess this was their way of making amends, Slater continued. She's now receiving backlash, left and right, especially now since her own family spoke up about her. What did her family say? I asked. That her claims of pregnancy were false, since her sister witnessed her taking a bunch of hospital tests, only to find out that she can't bear children due to a condition in her uterus. They also noted that her homophobia is not out of character, since she seemed to have internalized it somewhat, Slater noted. People are really roasting her left and right. It seemed like her original hate post backfired on her, I observed. Karma, Slater and I said in unison before we finished our cups of tea, and relished a tranquil night of cuddling and being worry-free. One night, I was just finishing up some dinner I had made for Slater when he came rushing in the door. I made him some steak and mashed potatoes, since it was his first day at his new workplace, and I wanted to celebrate. You won't believe who crashed my first day of work, he said, clearly irritated. Bia! She had the audacity to show up and cause a scene there. My eyes widened, surprised that Bia was really stooping this low. She's lost it. What on earth could she possibly want from you? I asked. She wants to ruin my career, that's what. She started spewing out every possible insult, saying that I had to pay her back for providing for me during all those times I was jobless. She even said that it was only a matter of time before I'd get fired again, said Slater. I kissed him on the lips and then pulled him in for a tight hug. I'm so sorry, love, I replied. You deserve so much better. Don't let her get you down again, okay? You're more than enough, and I'm sure you'll ace your new job, baby. Slater nodded and gave me a quick peck. Gladly, my boss also came to my defense. He said that our workplace doesn't tolerate that kind of behavior and kicked Bia out of the premises. He also promised to report her to her workplace. And seeing as he's some big shot accountant in the business world, he already got Bia fired. What? I asked in disbelief. That's crazy, but she should have seen it coming. After all her outbursts and even her social media meltdown, she's a walking liability. She truly is, replied Slater. I think her employers are also traumatized and cautious in case she exposed them too. Look, all this time she's been looking down at you for being retrenched, and now, karma bit her back in the ass. She's the jobless one now, I observed. Full circle, huh? Asked Slater, before putting his forehead against mine. Now I win. I got a good job, I have healthier mental health, I've been receiving therapy, and most importantly, I got you. Slater and I were living in our own tiny bubble, excelling in our respective work and sharing our shared passions during our spare time. We thought we'd seen the last of Bia's threats until Slater's family paid us a visit. What could Bia have told them? She probably told them of me and how bad I am for Slater. She probably destroyed my image to them before I even got a chance to introduce myself. But then I remembered that Slater's parents cut him off years ago. What were they doing here then? Slater seemed just as confused, and the entire time we were greeting them at the door, we held hands tightly. At this point, we were each other's pillar of strength, and I didn't want it any other way. "Mom? Dad? What are you doing here?" Slater asked as he opened the door and welcomed them in. "Bia talked to us about your breakup," his mother started. Finally. My eyes widened in disbelief. His mother didn't like Bia? But I thought Slater was under the impression that his parents cut him off because they felt that he wasn't straight. What? You don't like her? Is that why I was cut off and asked to move out of the house? Slater asked. Oh, son, that girl's a nightmare. Even before, she was going on and on about how she thought you weren't straight, his dad remarked. His mom nodded her head in agreement. It hurt me, son, seeing a woman talk you down like that, talking about you and your sexuality as though you're vermin. It pains me. And when I tried to talk you out of the relationship, you defended her. Mom, I'm so sorry, Slater said melancholically. I didn't know. I thought you cut me off because you thought I was bi and didn't accept me for that. That's insane. We'll always love you for who you are. But it's the woman you're with that we can't stand, his father argued. We can't watch you destroy yourself by being with a woman like that. We love you too much to let you. But we let you go because you genuinely thought you could be happy, his mom added. But we were so wrong. She just used you and treated you like crap. And I'm so sorry, darling, for not reaching out earlier. We're glad you found yourself again. Welcome back, son. We missed you, his dad said. Slater was in tears at this point and gave his parents much-awaited hugs. After their little reunion, he then introduced me. Mom, Dad, Bia was definitely not the woman for me. In fact, no woman ever did it for me, and for a while, I thought there was something wrong with me. But now I know. It's because this man has been waiting for me all my life. Mom, Dad, meet Kevin, the love of my life, and my groom-to-be. It's been half a year since Slater reconciled with his family. Thankfully, his family accepted us wholeheartedly and supported his decisions. They were just more than relieved that Bia was finally out of the picture. His mom and dad offered to shoulder the expenses for our wedding, which we would be eternally grateful for. They even offered to buy us our first house so we could finally move out of the apartment complex that held so much bittersweet memories. We accepted the offer, seeing as we wanted a fresh start in a city that was much more cheery than our current one. We wanted to move into a place where it didn't rain that much, and San Jacinto was the perfect city for us. It didn't storm as much as it did in our previous location, for which Slater was grateful. However, despite the lack of gloomy days, the cuddles never stopped and have become a quintessential part of our routine. It was a comforting act that united our two souls and connected both of our hearts. As for Bia, the last we heard, she lost her job, and she's been jobless since. In fact, when Slater and I relocated and got new jobs, she tried to contact him for a job offer, but to no avail. We did not want her energy anywhere near us and decided not to entertain her any further. Her friends have also cut her off, and after her viral social media lies, her family wasn't interested in being associated with her either. Freddie's business was also booming, and he's even built more apartment complexes. We kept in touch, and he even promised to bring his gay son with him during my and Kevin's wedding. Life truly was a box of surprises. Everything finally fell into place, with Slater and I falling head over heels in love, and karma got the better of Bia. Who could have ever thought that the guy next door would be my cuddle buddy turned fiancé? The end. How do you think verbally abusive partners should be dealt with? Leave a comment and let us know what your thoughts are. Thanks for watching. Consider subscribing to become a part of our Rainbow Force, and stay wholesome. Thanks for watching. Consider subscribing to become a part of our Rainbow Force, and stay wholesome.